Have you just installed a brand new battery, but your car still won't start? Maybe the engine won't crank at all. Maybe you only hear a single click, or maybe the engine starts for a second and then immediately dies. At this point, it's easy to assume the new battery is defective. But in most cases, that's not the real problem. A battery replacement only restores electrical power. It doesn't automatically fix the issue that prevented the engine from starting. And in some cases, replacing the battery itself can even create a new problem if something isn't reconnected properly, or the vehicle needs to relearn certain settings. That's why many drivers experience unexpected problems after replacing a car battery, even when the battery is fully charged and brand new. In this video, we'll look at the 5 most common reasons a car won't start after replacing the battery, starting with the simplest checks, before moving on to more advanced possibilities. Number 1. Check the battery connections first. The first thing you should check is the battery connections. Even if you've just installed a brand new battery, the engine still needs a large amount of electrical current to crank. If one of the battery terminals is loose or covered with corrosion, that current may never reach the starter motor. This is one of the most common reasons a car won't start immediately after a battery replacement. And it's also one of the easiest problems to overlook. Inspect both battery terminals. Make sure the clamps are fully seated on the battery posts and tightened securely. They shouldn't be able to twist or move by hand. Next, look closely for corrosion. Even a thin layer of dull gray or white buildup between the battery post and the terminal can create enough resistance to interfere with current flow. If you find corrosion, disconnect the battery and clean both the battery posts and the inside of the terminal clamps using a wire brush until you see clean, shiny metal. Then reconnect the terminals and tighten them securely. Once everything is clean and properly tightened, try starting the engine again. If the engine still won't start, the battery connections probably aren't the problem, so it's time to move on to the next possibility. Number 2. Check the main fuse or fusible link. If the battery connections are clean and secure, but the engine still won't start, the next thing to check is the main fuse or fusible link. During a battery replacement, it's possible to accidentally create a short circuit. Touching the positive battery cable against metal, allowing a tool to bridge the battery terminals, or accidentally reversing the battery cables can blow one of the vehicle's main fuses almost instantly. When that happens, electrical power may still reach some parts of the vehicle. The dashboard lights might come on, and some accessories may continue to work. However, power to critical systems needed to start the engine can be interrupted, leaving you with a car that won't start. Open the power distribution box, which is usually located near the battery under the hood, and inspect the high amperage fuses or fusible links. Look for a broken metal strip, signs of burning, or any visible damage. If you find a blown fuse, replace it with another fuse of the exact same amperage rating. Never install a higher rated fuse, as doing so can damage the electrical system or create a safety hazard. After replacing the fuse, try starting the engine again. If all of the main fuses and fusible links are in good condition, but the engine still won't start, the next possibility is that the vehicle's security system is preventing the engine from starting. Number 3. Check if the security system or immobilizer is active. If the battery connections are good and the main fuses are intact, the next thing to check is the vehicle's security system or immobilizer. On many modern vehicles, disconnecting the battery can temporarily interrupt communication between the key and the vehicle's anti-theft system. When that happens, the immobilizer may prevent the engine from starting, even though the new battery is fully charged. The symptoms can vary depending on the vehicle. In some cases, the engine won't crank at all. In others, the engine may crank normally, but start for only a second or two before shutting off. You may also notice a flashing security or key-shaped warning light on the instrument cluster. Before assuming there's a major electrical problem, check for any security warning indicators on the dashboard. If you see one, try locking and unlocking the driver's door using the physical key, or use your key fob to lock and unlock the vehicle. If you have a spare key, try starting the engine with it. as a weak or damaged transponder chip inside the original key can also trigger the immobilizer on some vehicles. These simple steps are enough to restore communication between the key and the immobilizer system. If the security system isn't preventing the engine from starting, the next thing to consider is whether the vehicle requires the new battery to be registered or relearned by the computer. Number 4. Reset or relearn the battery management system, if equipped. If the security system isn't causing the problem, the next thing to consider is whether your vehicle has a battery management system, often called a BMS. Many newer vehicles, especially those equipped with an automatic start-stop system, continuously monitor the battery's condition. When a new battery is installed, the vehicle may need to recognize or register that new battery before the charging system can operate correctly. If this registration or relearn procedure isn't performed, the computer may continue charging the new battery as if it were the old, worn-out one. Over time, this can lead to poor battery performance, charging problems, or repeated starting issues. Not every vehicle requires this procedure, but it's becoming increasingly common on many late-model vehicles from various manufacturers. Depending on the vehicle, the relearn process may require a compatible OBD2 scan tool, while others can complete it through a specific sequence recommended by the manufacturer. If you're unsure whether your vehicle requires battery registration, check the owner's manual or the manufacturer's service information before replacing additional parts. If your vehicle doesn't require a battery management system relearn, or the procedure has already been completed and the engine still won't start, the next possibility is that the problem isn't related to the battery at all, but to the starter motor or charging system. Number 5. Consider a failing starter motor or alternator. If everything we've covered so far checks out, and your car still won't start, there's one more possibility to consider. It's common for a weak or dying battery to mask an already failing starter motor or alternator. Once a fully charged battery is installed, those underlying problems often become much more apparent. In other words, the new battery didn't create the problem, it simply revealed it. One possibility is a worn or failing starter motor. If the starter motor has worn internal contacts, a sticking solenoid, or another mechanical failure, supplying it with a brand new battery won't make it work. The engine still won't crank, because the real problem was never the battery in the first place. One simple test is to have someone turn the ignition key while you gently tap the starter motor with a small hammer or similar tool. If the engine suddenly cranks, it's a strong indication that the starter motor should be inspected or replaced. Another possibility is a failing alternator. Unlike the starter motor, the alternator isn't responsible for cranking the engine. Its job is to recharge the battery while the engine is running. That means a bad alternator usually won't prevent the engine from starting immediately after you've installed a fully charged battery. However, if the engine starts normally with the new battery, but the battery quickly loses its charge and the same no-start problem returns after a short time, the charging system should be tested. In that situation, the alternator may not be producing enough power to keep the battery charged. At this point, testing both the starter motor and the charging system is the best way to identify the actual cause, before replacing any additional parts. If your car won't start after replacing the battery, don't assume the new battery is defective. Instead, work through the problem step by step. First, make sure the battery terminals are clean and secure. Next, inspect the main fuse or fusible link for damage. Then, check whether the immobilizer is preventing the engine from starting. If your vehicle is equipped with a battery management system, verify that the new battery has been properly registered or relearned. And finally, if everything else checks out, remember that the new battery may have simply revealed an existing problem with the starter motor or alternator. Following this sequence will help you identify the real cause, while avoiding unnecessary parts replacement. As you've seen, a new battery doesn't always mean the battery was the problem in the first place. Taking a few minutes to diagnose the issue, step by step, can save you from replacing unnecessary parts and spending money on repairs your vehicle may not actually need. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future automotive troubleshooting and maintenance guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.